All right, well, that's not working, so we'll just go with 2 slides, folks. So welcome to this webinar, the San Diego Challenge, Navigating Anti-Community Choice Marketing. And thank you to our sponsor, the Jonathan Logan Family Foundation. My name is Woody Hastings. I'll be your moderator today. Our presenters are Nicole Capretz of the Climate Action Campaign and San Diego Councilmember Barbara Bree, District 1 of San Diego. Just a few things. Everyone's in listen-only mode, except for the presenters, of course. The webinar is being recorded. Enter your questions in the control panel on your screen at any time. We'll save the last 15 or 20 minutes for Q&A. If you're having trouble hearing or seeing anything, we will try to resolve that, but either way, all attendees will receive the recording. There are several handouts today. Look in your control panel, you should see those 3 handouts. We have the speaker bios, we have the Senate Bill 790 language that establishes the code of conduct for IOUs. And we have an October 7th, 2017 San Diego Union Tribune article that lays out the situation pretty well. I'm getting a little note here. Yeah, it's just you. So again, I'm getting a note that I can't be heard, perhaps. Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, hopefully others can hear me. If not, that's a big problem. So a little bit about the Center for Climate Protection's work. My work is largely in the community choice arena, community choice energy growth in California. We have a dedicated program, the Clean Power Exchange, which includes an interactive map of all 482 cities and all 58 counties in the state of California and the status of community choice development around the state. We issue bi-weekly e-news that features information and updates and blogs about community choice and renewable energy development in general. We host an annual symposium. The next one is scheduled for June 5th in Sacramento, the Business of Local Energy Symposium that focuses largely on community choice energy and developing local energy resources. So mark your calendars for that. We also offer these webinars on a monthly basis. And so always open to suggestions for future webinar topics. We also periodically release white papers on issues, so those are featured at the Clean Power Exchange website in our resources section. And so avail yourself of those white papers on a range of topics, economics related to community choice, solar, a whole bunch of different issues related to community choice energy development. Our next webinar is scheduled for January 24th from noon to 1 p.m. and that will be an overview of the lay of the land for the upcoming legislative session in 2018, and the presenters for that webinar are yet to be determined. Okay, so we will now go back to our presenters. And so folks should now see up on your screen us, no more PowerPoint for now. Again, welcome. So I'm gonna before introducing Nicole and Councilmember Bree, I'm gonna give a little bit of background on how we got here. First starting really with Assembly Bill 117 in 2002 that established community choice law. It included a statement that said that investor-owned utilities must cooperate fully with emerging community choice agencies. That little passage in AB 117 somehow needed some interpretation, because in the early efforts for community choice in the San Joaquin Valley, in Marin, and in San Francisco, there was quite a bit of obstruction. It included everything from mailers to phone calls to IOU representatives showing up at community meetings or meeting with elected officials and staff. In Marin alone, it amounted to about $4 million in spending on anti-community choice marketing. So that resulted in 2010 in Senator Mark Leno at the time holding a series of Senate Select Committee meetings on renewable energy. And the representatives from those early community choice efforts testified and basically told their story about how the IOU, in this case PG&E, was not cooperating fully with the emerging community choice effort. So that is how SB 790, Senate Bill 790, was enacted in 2011, that established a code of conduct that requires the investor-owned utilities to if they want to market against an emerging community choice agency, they must file a marketing plan with the California Public Utilities Commission, and it includes quite a number of sort of requirements and restrictions on what they can do, and they can't use ratepayer funds. It must be shareholder funded and a separate division and things like that. So this webinar revolves around the fact that we now have the first investor-owned utility that has exercised this option under the law to file a marketing plan and to exercise that marketing plan. So that brings us to, I'm going to hand it off to Nicole soon to start us off here. Nicole and the Climate Action Campaign have really done some wonderful work in San Francisco over the last few years. Many accomplishments, including getting the city of San Diego to commit to 100% renewable by 2035. The technical study and advocating and pushing for community choice as a vehicle to get there. The technical study came out last summer showing that not only could it get the city to 100% renewable energy, but it could do it with customers enjoying lower electricity costs. So up until just a couple of weeks ago, there's been additional forward motion with the mayor supporting the business plan, I understand. And so, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to lay out. Maybe Nicole, you can take it from here and give us your sort of perspective from the Climate Action Campaign.
Okay, well, thanks for having us on today. Happy to talk about what we're experiencing down in San Diego. Just to give a little bit more context, before I was the founder of this nonprofit organization, Climate Action Campaign, I was actually working inside the mayor's office and had the opportunity to help craft the city's kind of groundbreaking climate plan with this ambitious target to reduce our carbon footprint in half, to reach 100% clean electricity, and to identify community choice as the mechanism to get there. And so while I was working under one administration, the plan was still in development, and a new administration came in, our current mayor, Republican Mayor Kevin Faulconer, and he went through a process of doing his own evaluation of the climate plan. And during that time, we had a lot of insight into how SDG&E was positioning themselves related to both the 100% clean energy goal and community choice. And so we knew there was a lot of lobbying going on. There was a lot of pushback about the goal. And in fact, their official letter on the record is that it is technically impossible to reach 100% clean electricity by 2035, that we would still need gas in the mix, and thus that goal was unattainable, and the city should take it out. And obviously they did, lobbying and advocating around that behind the scenes, but that was their public official position. And they also asked the mayor, and successfully got the mayor to change the language that was in the first draft of the climate plan, that I had, again, identified community choice as the mechanism to reach 100% clean electricity, for obviously many reasons. And they added language that said community choice energy or another program. And that was obviously language they put in at the last minute to allow them to offer an alternative to community choice, to basically keep the monopoly, to keep them as the sole source provider. And so, that happened. We still passed the plan with the majority of the plan intact. There's a lot of unity in the community, a lot of support from the business community, the Chamber of Commerce, economic development, from the public health sector, from the environmental community, from the small business community, the clean tech community. It's just kind of this rare moment of unity and solidarity amongst almost all stakeholders in our community, but we always knew things might shift when we got into a serious conversation about how we're going to get to 100%. And so that's kind of what happened. I mean, obviously, as we were seriously considering, when I was still within the City of San Diego Community Choice, there were efforts going on at the PUC and at the state legislature by all the utilities, as I'm sure many people on this call know, to undermine community choice as an option statewide. And so the city participated in some of those efforts while I was still inside City Hall to challenge that and say, hey, we still want that option. Don't take that away from us. So there was already kind of that tension and dynamic at play, sort of setting up the stage for where we are today, because SDG obviously was participating in those efforts to squash community choice. And also, needless to say, that continues to go on, probably will go on this next legislative session. Happy to hear, Woody, that your first next webinar will be about what potential threats might exist in the legislature next year. Obviously, we've successfully fended off most of those threats, so I'm cautiously optimistic that'll remain the case. But regardless, just again, kind of setting the stage that we knew the utilities, wanted, really to do everything in their power to keep that monopoly alive, and that this was going to be a challenge. We didn't know, of course, that they were going to be the first utility in the state to trigger this loophole, if you want, that allows the corporate, what's the right word, parent company to use shareholder dollars to fight us. We didn't know that was going to happen, but it wasn't that unexpected. So how we've experienced it is that initially it was a lot of focus on kind of substantive concerns that were raised about how community choice doesn't work. It's been a failure, even though obviously many of us know it's a tried and true program that has had great success. They really have painted it as this grave threat to the city, that our city, the whole world will collapse if we move forward with community choice, and we'll be experiencing a great financial crisis. That there's not been any new local renewable energy development thanks to community choice. They just kind of threw everything in the bathwater at reasons why community choice is not a good idea. And so that's taken many different forms. They've hired many lobbyists in town, kind of known quantities. I should also say that we did participate, and this is while I was at and with Climate Action Campaign, we did participate in the Public Utilities Commission proceeding when they first started this independent marketing district, and it was new to everybody. I would say probably even to PUC staff, which put us at a disadvantage, frankly, because the utility really just took advantage of that. And we still are not convinced there is an adequate firewall between Sempra and SDG&E, and that was some of our core concerns during the proceeding, because there's a lot of people who have known affiliation with SDG&E for years who are now affiliated with this, quote, independent marketing district. So out in the community, to the public, to elected officials, it's the same company. So this firewall, this independence that's supposed to exist, it's hard to believe it does. And obviously we did register our concerns during that PUC process, but they didn't really seem to have their sea legs or kind of know how to navigate this process. And so we're kind of the victim of being the first ones to experience this. But that has influenced, obviously, what we've experienced on the ground because of this, what we believe is a lack of a adequate firewall, is that, again, it's players that are well known in the space in politics, players who are traditionally giving money to many organizations in our community. And so now they're just in this role of opposing community choice, and so it's kind of a blurring of roles and kind of how people are perceiving who's doing what and why. And so they are using all of their political weight and capital and financial capital in trying to stop this process moving forward. It's been somewhat gratifying that we've still, despite all the odds and a lot of skepticism from many people that we could move community choice forward, as Woody just announced, the mayor not only did the feasibility study and it came out with positive results, and he acknowledges that, and he stands by that study as he should. It's the only independent objective study we have, because you can imagine Sempra did hire economists to challenge the findings of the feasibility study, but we're happy to convey that the mayor wasn't really persuaded, and I'll let the council member speak for herself. I don't think the council was persuaded by any of the concerns raised by this Sempra-funded challenge, the feasibility study, and I think that gave the mayor the confidence to move forward with the next phase, which is the business plan. The mayor obviously is, well, not obviously, but I can't remember if you said it, Woody, but the city is still going to be evaluating a proposal from SDG&E, because Member Hyde said at the beginning, the climate plan was altered to say community choice or another program. So we are waiting patiently to see what that proposal is. But oh, what's that? No, I can't. It's hard to. There's like difference in timing, but. So we're happy things are moving forward, but it certainly has been a challenge, watching other communities be able to move forward with community choice without the utility opposition, because at the end of the day, as I think, again, most people on this call know, community choice in its original structure and creation was designed as a partnership between the city and the utility. It's designed to be a win for everybody, and that's how we look at it. I'm pretty sure the council member feels the same way, that it's meant to be an approach where we can all work in harmony and we can move the needle forward on clean energy, but everyone can still thrive. And so it's disappointing to many of us in the community that our utility has taken such a strong stance against it. And of course, if they were on this call, they would say, hey, we're not opposed to it. If the community choice program meets X, Y, Z, then we'd be in favor of it. Which of course, but it's this moving target, and I guarantee you there's nothing we can do to make them support it. But they, so they're posturing a little bit about that. But I can almost also guarantee you they're working with the other utilities, obviously on this exit fee issue. So they're trying to make it financially not feasible. I'm sure there's something brewing at the state legislature to again try to squash our opportunity to move forward with community choice. And I guess I'll also just say that it's been highly disappointing because our utility, or Sempra, however, to me, there's not really a difference, has decided to come after my organization and me personally. It's hard to talk about, but obviously they are threatened, and they've decided that we are, somebody that they would like not to be in the picture, so they've challenged our integrity and who we are, what we're about. Fortunately, I've been in the space of politics for almost 20 years, so I'm pretty confident about how that people know who I am and what I stand for. But nonetheless, it's been stressful and challenging to navigate so there's been a whisper campaign that many sources have told me about in the media and other stakeholders, and there's been some public statements, and we actually had to hire lawyers because it has verged on I don't know if the legal term is libel or I can't remember, but they clearly are feeling on the ropes somehow, or just kind of desperate, and they're trying to attack us and get us out of the picture. So I just wanted to at least be honest and transparent about how that side of the equation has been really challenging for me and my team to navigate, because again, we prefer if we could work out something where we could all win, and we believe that, again, that's the way community choice was designed, and it's been heartening to watch that from those that are on the call who are with operational community choice programs. We get a lot of strength from the fact that this has been such a successful program adopted statewide, and we know we're doing the right thing, and we can achieve results, again, that are beneficial to many people in their community and get true energy democracy and local clean energy and all that good stuff, which I know the council member will talk about more. But just giving you that first-person perspective of what it's been like to be as an advocate on the outside and navigate many different situations. And needless to say, I guess I'll just end with the fact that Sempra has been successful in getting...
Froze for...
Did it freeze? Should I keep going, Woody?
Go ahead.
I can't.
It froze for me momentarily, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
The Sempra has been successful in getting sort of their longtime friends in the big business world in the community to join a kind of small coalition opposing community choice. But again, it has been also gratifying to see that despite that, we have done extensive community outreach and education, especially to our official advisory bodies for the city of San Diego. We have 52 community planning groups. We have the support of the majority of them. So sort of people power is winning, I would say. You know, even though we don't have the resources and the political connections in the same way as Sempra, it feels like the facts are on our side, and the added, you know, the value add to moving forward with this program is on our side, and so it feels like good is winning. But nonetheless, we have no idea what 2018 brings. I have no idea what's happening behind without any of our knowledge, what they're plotting. So we're, you know, we try to take it one day at a time and do our best and stay true and authentic and, you know, rooted in our integrity and our beliefs and values. And we're super grateful, because I want to obviously pass it off to a council member who's been a champion and a supporter and somebody who sifted through kind of a lot of the noise and just kind of focused on the facts and the data and the evidence, which was what we want, you know, what we want this to be supported for all the right reasons and for all the because everything that we've seen shows that this is like a good decision for the public. So yeah, it's also just been incredibly gratifying to see a lot of our council who has weighed in already about excitement about moving forward. But I really want to give a shout out to Councilmember Bree, who's been a great partner and supporter of our efforts on the outside.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Nicole. That was really good, and lots of questions, obviously, you know, emerging from that. But we will leave the questions to the end. So I do want to transition to Councilmember Bree. Thank you again for being here, Councilmember. Councilmember Bree represents City Council District 1. It's sort of the northwestern part of the city of San Diego, includes Carmel Valley, Del Mar Heights, Torrey Pines, La Jolla, those areas. And I believe you're also on an economic development committee, and so certainly community choice has bearing on that. So just would love to hear your perspective from you know, as a sitting city council member, you know, your reasons for, you know, wanting to pursue community choice for San Diego, and maybe your perspective of some of the challenges that have emerged in this dynamic.
Sure. So I think it's important to know this is my first elected office. I've been in City Hall a year. And I was a high-tech entrepreneur before running, and prior to that I was actually an LA Times business writer. And I covered the Public Utilities Commission from 1978 to 84. So I actually understand the concept of rate base and the fact that under community choice, SDG&E will continue to earn a lot of money and will continue to get a rate of return on its fixed investment. And so it was a natural for me to take on this issue as an important issue. And as a high-tech entrepreneur, I was involved with companies that disrupted the status quo. And right now, we are disrupting the status quo for San Diego Gas and Electric. And that's always uncomfortable for the incumbents, and they will fight back. But with the cost of renewables declining enormously and battery technology improving, I mean, it is the right time for community choice. And I'd like to say that we are very blessed in San Diego to have Nicole. I think Nicole sort of underestimated her role in all of this. She is the mother of our climate action plan, is the driving force behind community choice energy in San Diego. And she is one of the key reasons we are as far along as we are. She talked a little bit about people power. The grassroots organizing that Climate Action Campaign is doing by going to community planning group meetings all over our city to engage, you know, local residents, to explain to them what community choice is all about and why it's important for them to support it has been really key. And she's also gotten a business group of many small business owners together. In addition, the local Sierra Club has taken this on as one of their key issues in 2018, as have many other environmental groups. So in the long run, I think this grassroots organizing people power can overcome a monopoly. Let's be clear about what San Diego Gas and Electric is. It's a monopoly. So I think I'll just briefly go through some of the talking points I use in talking about community choice energy when I'm talking out in my community to business owners and to residents as to why I believe it's a good thing. So, as I said, I've been a high-tech entrepreneur. San Diego is a center for the innovation economy, both in the high-tech space and the biotech space. And this community choice really harnesses our strengths to be a leader. I do believe personally that it's a key to ensuring that we meet our climate action plan goals. And Nicole talked about the fact that it is really a partnership between San Diego Gas and Electric and the new organization that we set up, and we will not be putting San Diego Gas and Electric out of business. They will continue to get a return on their rate base. They will continue to deliver the power. They will continue to do customer billing. In fact, for many people, they actually won't know a difference, except hopefully that their monthly bill will get lower over time. And also that we will be able to use the surplus, which is a nonprofit word for profits, that we will be able to invest these monies back into the community, into developing more renewable sources. And we will also be able to invest from day one in developing local renewable sources of energy, and these will create local good jobs. And San Diego Gas and Electric likes to say we won't be able to do this, but honestly we will, because we will have customers. And the customers will provide the financial basis for us to issue bonds and other sorts of financing that we will need to invest in new sources of renewable energy. As Nicole mentioned, the mayor has approved going ahead with the next step, which is to write a business plan. For any business I've ever been involved with, you have to write a business plan. That's a logical next step. Then you criticize this business plan, you get lots of points of views on it, you try to make it better. Hopefully we will be doing that in a public setting to strengthen our business plan. We have something called Brown Act, so actually I have not even talked to any other council member about community choice, but it was gratifying to read a Voice of San Diego story that came out late yesterday that indicated that several of my colleagues are supportive of moving forward with this concept. So that was very good to know. Let's see. San Diego Gas and Electric also likes to say that the city will be on the hook financially. That is not true. We would most likely be setting up a separate entity that would have would not be, so that the city would be very separate from any financial liability of this new CCA. And I think most importantly, consumers would finally have a choice. Right now, it's a monopoly. People and businesses do not have a choice as to where they buy their energy. And as a businesswoman, I believe that competition is a good thing. And that's one. And the second important thing is, San Diego Gas and Electric has submitted this plan to the city, but right now it's private. It's not been disclosed to the public. Hopefully, it will be disclosed to the public, just as everything else that this CCA is going to do, so that we all will have the ability to scrutinize their plan. And right now, as a monopoly, San Diego Gas and Electric's rates are set by the California Public Utilities Commission in a very sort of esoteric process in San Francisco that, most of us don't understand. And I still remember going to some of those hearings. And with the CCA, one of the major benefits is we would have a local organization that would be setting the rates in a very open and transparent manner. And I think that would make people in San Diego more confident in the process. And we also have some of the highest utility rates, electric rates in the country, not even just the state of California, by the country. I won't go through a lot of the the data, you know, about why it's a good thing. What most interests me is that it's good for business to do this. It's good for the environment to do this. It's a win-win for San Diego Gas and Electric. They still stay in business, get to earn a return on investment. And at a certain point, you have to understand as a business that the world is changing around you, and you're going to have to figure out how to adapt. You can't hold back the future and progress forever. And at this moment in time, with what's happening on the national front, it is even more important than ever that we move forward with doing this in San Diego. I view what's happening in Washington as an unfortunate temporary blip in our country's history, that in 2020 we will have a different administration in Washington, and that the entire country will be moving forward on climate action goals. And so in San Diego, we can keep moving forward. We are a role model to cities around the world, and that is really important.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for the positive positive conclusion there and optimistic notes. And it's just really fantastic, I must say, to have someone like you there in the City Council with such a deep knowledge and experience and history with some of these issues, and obviously really grasping them and diving in and knowing what's going on. That's really important. We in our work, as we've worked here to help get Sonoma Clean Power up and running, it was always this question of trying to find that champion, and so it's clear that you're really a champion on this, so very much appreciate that. I have a whole bunch of questions I'd like to ask, but we've got however many people on the in the group here, about 70 some odd. I am going to ask one question now, and I'm going to ask it now instead of at the very end when there might not be time to answer it fully, which is really this question of, there you are in San Diego with this huge challenge, and here we are with 73 people from around the state. Are there things that folks around the state that want to support community choice, are there things that they could be doing to help you there? In whatever way you can imagine. This is kind of for both of you, Nicole or Councilmember Bree, if you want to let folks know, what they might be able to do.
Nicole, why don't you start?
Okay. I mean, I have about 20 things, but for sure.
Don't give us all 20, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. Bringing down the expertise and experience of existing operational community choice programs is pivotal. We had Barbara Hale come down at a committee hearing from San Francisco Clean Power. I forget it's hard to keep track of all the names of these community choice programs, but I would say she was riveting to our council members to hear from someone actually managing a community choice program. It just on the ground, like, sort of making it real and that it's legitimate and it's possible and it's real. Second thing is, if there are folks within the clean tech industry who are involved in other community choice programs and benefiting from that experience, I mean, we are potentially going to be creating a huge market for you down here as well, and it would be great to have you weigh in with our elected officials, with our mayor and elected officials, about how us creating that market will help your business and will help us create jobs. And so any of you who are not yet participating in San Diego, please reach out to me or Councilmember Barbara Bree, and we'll let you know how to get involved, or just directly reach out to our mayor and council. But hearing from you about how us creating community choice could expand the market, it would be fantastic. And then third, I'm just going to go ahead and make a pitch for my organization. If any of you would like to join Climate Action Campaign, every dollar counts, every supporter helps. We are obviously, when we go to City Hall, when we talk to the mayor and elected officials, we like to say, like, hey, we're representing, a big portion of the community, and there's a lot of eyes that are watching us, that are counting on us to kind of make this happen, despite kind of the intense challenge of having the utility form this independent marketing district to stop us at all costs. And so anything you can do to help us in that effort is welcome. www.climateactioncampaign.org. My team is going to be so happy I remember to say that.
So, good.
So I'll just say first a few things. So first of all, yes, everybody should be joining Climate Action Campaign. I'm a member. You got to do what you preach. Second, I think what Nicole said about clean energy entrepreneurs is really important. This morning before I came to work, I actually talked on the phone with a young man who's a clean energy entrepreneur. And I think the city needs to see that there are a lot of good clean energy entrepreneurs out there who the city would be able to work with to develop local sources of renewable energy. So I think that's really important. People who have a track record, who've done this in other communities with success. Third, we'd love to hear your success stories and challenges in other places. I'd like to know, we'd like to learn about best practices in other communities. So anything you can share with us, please feel free to reach out. My city email address is barbarabree@sandiego.gov. So you can email me there.
Can I add one thing, Woody?
Sure.
Just to piggyback on what Barbara was saying, one of the handouts that we use most frequently and is probably of great help is the Cal CCA map that shows all the new renewable energy that has come online since community choice programs have started. It does seem, though, that it's a little bit out of date, and we have asked a few times, like, Woody, you look askance. Maybe we just don't have the latest version, but the more up to date the data is from operational community choice programs, the better it is for us. It helps us to make the case because, again, Sempra continues to put out that myth that we're just shipping power in from Arizona or New Mexico and we're not building local renewables. So concrete data that shows the jobs we're creating in California, in renewable projects in California is gold for us.
Great. Yeah, it is actually sort of getting hard to keep up with so many now community choice agencies emerging, and we're looking at linking the Clean Power Exchange map of sort of the status, which is just sort of basic information of how many and what the load is and some basic information. But I think the drill down information into the power mixes and things like that, you'd have to go to each community choice agency. They're all different. Anyway, so looking at just at least for status, connecting that Clean Power Exchange map that we maintain with the Cal CCA website is one thing. So I do want to switch over to other folks' questions. And by the way, attendees, this is your time to type in your questions into the little dialog box there. There are other organizations in San Diego County working on community choice. I wanted to recognize first Lane Sharman from the San Diego Energy District. He's typed in a question here, and his question is, will the leadership of the city of Solana Beach, folks on the call might not know that Solana Beach is moving forward on community choice as well. Will the city, the activity in Solana Beach and the San Diego Energy District's effort there be a positive effect or not for the city of San Diego's efforts, is Lane's question. Or what's the relationship there?
Well, Solana Beach is just north of the city of San Diego, and it's a small community. I mean, I'm guessing 40,000 people at the most. I think it's very positive that they're moving ahead. My guess is if the city of San Diego moves forward, that all the smaller cities in the county will join with us, which I think makes the most sense from a business point of view. That's what's happened in Marin. Marin started and all the neighboring counties have joined with them. Then you have a more powerful entity. You can probably hire better people and you can negotiate better deals because you're bigger. And one advantage we have in San Diego is we'd be big at the beginning.
Nicole, anything to add?
No, I think it's great. They're 2 steps ahead of us, and I think they're paving the way. And I think it always helps to have someone, actually take that leap and launch community choice to make everybody feel like it's okay. So yes, I think it's fantastic, and we support it 1000%.
Okay. Next question we have from Tom Kabat, which is, and this is sort of a question that we've been scratching our heads at forever. I think there may be some good answers to it. I have some of my own, but the question is, in the case of investor-owned utilities, it says with profit decoupling, meaning that San Diego Gas and Electric profits are tied to their fixed return on investment on the infrastructure, the wires and the poles. Why are they fighting community choice? So,
I mean, I guess my response is, number one, I think Barbara said it best, that anytime you disrupt the status quo, there's going to be pushback, because they've been the sole game in town for so long. It's hard to let anybody else kind of share that space. And then two, I think many of us who've been sort of tracking clean energy for a long time know that it's not just about getting to 100% clean energy, it's about where and what scale that energy is at. So utilities traditionally have always favored, at least I can speak for SDG&E, large scale systems, far out in the desert, that they have to build transmission lines or distribution lines to reach the urban areas, and that's obviously a profit-making operation for them. So when they're in control of both the supply and the delivery, that's kind of a package for them that is able, that sort of facilitates greater profit. And so if the majority of stakeholders that we are talking to want smaller scale, decentralized, local backyard solar, we want to maximize. We want to see, my vision. Hopefully, it's council members' vision as well. I don't think you should be able to turn your head in San Diego and not see rooftop solar. I mean, there's no reason for that not to be the case. That just doesn't make any sense, given our climate and everything else, and just the technology and the cost and everything. So, but that's not really. It doesn't really fit in with the kind of distribution model that SDG usually prefers. So I think there's that tension of but it's again to Barbara's point of sometimes businesses have to evolve. I guess that's what we're sort of asking the utility to do, to sort of understand that times are changing, and they're just going to have to figure out a different way to survive, which is totally fine. But we're looking to modernize.
Yeah, I mean, we are disrupting their business model. I mean, look at the music business, the book business, the travel business. The internet disrupted their business models, and some companies did go out of business. SDG&E's ideal business model is to build as many power plants as possible, because that way they get a fixed return on that investment. That's their ideal business model. Community choice and renewables, changes that dramatically. Rooftop solar, they don't get a fixed return on, rooftop solar when you put it on your house or your office building. And, I'm not going to look 20 years ahead, but, their business model could change even further in a way that threatens them. And so they're fighting now. And so from their point of view, I understand what they're doing, but it's our responsibility to stand up for what's right for our businesses and our consumers and our long-term climate action goals.
Great, thanks. Another question from someone from San Diego Energy District. The question is from Erica Morgan, and she's asking a question about about SB 790. The question is, to what extent does SB 790 actually apply to Sempra and other shareholder-funded activities? I mean, my understanding, I'll just say at the outset, is that having your marketing division funded by shareholder funds is what you need to do to be able to market. My question, I think, related to what Erica's question here, is there an ongoing assessment of the degree to which there's compliance with whatever the rules are about what kind of marketing can take place? And I think you've touched on that a little bit, but maybe expand on that a little, in addition to, maybe answering directly what Eric is asking here.
Yeah, I mean, if we had all the resources and capacity in the world, we would be spending a lot of time on a better understanding what the PUC is thinking about actually creating a firewall and what that really means and whether that actually exists. We just don't see that there's any kind of watchdog role that the PUC is willing to play, and we didn't see that during the proceeding when they set up the independent marketing district. So we just had to be, really strategic about how we expend our limited resources and time. So, right now we're just on the ground, trying to build the community support and the political will to move forward with community choice, and unfortunately we just don't have the opportunity to spend time on hey, this isn't, I mean, there really isn't this independence is kind of manufactured. It's not real. I mean, I really don't know everything that goes on, but I'm guessing there's a lot of there's way more collaboration happening between those two entities. So anyhow, and then I know there's other components of what they're required to do to create this independent marketing district, and we just don't have the resources to watchdog or challenge that, I should say.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I think we're counting on Climate Action Campaign and other consumer groups around the state to monitor this as best they can.
Yeah, I'll just also just add that I was around back when 790, SB 790 was being debated, and you know there are, you know, sort of free speech, First Amendment issues revolving around it. So a complete prohibition on their ability to you know, speak to an emerging challenge is limited by the First Amendment, or allowed by the First Amendment. So I want to get to an earlier question that came in. It's a pretty basic thing from Clay Sandage, but I think it's important maybe if either one of you know exactly where. The question is the technical study, where you know, I'm sure that's available to the public. I know it is. Where can they find that?
Oh, that's so interesting. A reporter just asked me that this morning. So I know we're about to put it on our website. I didn't know it was not on our website, but I'm confident it's on the City of San Diego's website. I don't know if you know that, Barbara.
We can put it. You know, why don't we'll put it on our City Council website. The link it is on the city website. It may be hard to find, but what we'll do also is put a link to it on our City Council website. But it is a public document.
Yeah, right. It's a public document. I mean, I have a copy of it. I don't think we've put it on our Clean Power Exchange website. We have several technical studies from the first few community choice agencies to launch, and we haven't sort of put every single one of them up there. Maybe we should. But so I know we don't have it up there, but I could put it up there. All right, we have a question from Stacy Minzen. Where does Southern let's see. Well, let's see. Well, this is a question about Southern California Edison, recent Go All Electric document, I guess they put out. How can community choice agencies respond to the greenwashing of investor-owned utilities, and how can advocacy groups help?
I'll just say I'm not aware of what Southern California Edison is doing, since they're not in our market area.
Right. Good. Okay. Well, Nicole, any comment on that one?
I mean, obviously, we do our best to respond to any misinformation or misleading information that's put out there by Sempra or SDG&E. I mean, that's the most we can do, really, is be a watchdog.
All right. Let's see what else we have here. Here's a question from David Gansai, and the question is climate change denial a factor in the marketing, anti-community choice marketing that's going on?
No, they're not saying that. They put out some materials pretty early on in their efforts that challenged the idea that 100% was feasible. So there was a little bit of maneuvering around that idea, but they don't deny that climate change exists. They just try to say, let's focus on other areas of climate, such as transportation. You know, look over here, don't look over there. And of course, it's a both-and situation, but you know, that's been more their tactic than climate change doesn't exist.
Yeah. In San Diego, I would say well over a majority of people here believe in climate change. So that's not an argument that would win them any points.
Let's see.
Oh, can I? Yeah, and I'll just add another one of their arguments that I find intriguing is that they're pretty aggressive about saying that they don't think the city is competent to manage community choice, which is almost a direct attack on the mayor and the council, but really the mayor is the operator of the city. And given that the mayor is so instrumental in deciding whether to move forward with the community choice, I find that attack interesting because it's sort of going after somebody they need to stay with the monopoly. So
I'd like to add with that, I mean, you know, the likelihood is when we move ahead, we're going to set up a joint powers authority and we're going to go out and hire experienced people so to run this, maybe even former utility executives. There are a few who are actually involved with Nicole's organization. So yeah. You know, you're going to hire the people who have the expertise to run this. It's not going to be run by the mayor and the city council. Representatives of the city council may sit on the board, but your management team is going to be people who have the expertise in the energy field.
Right, very good. We have another one here from Erica Morgan of San Diego Energy District, and I think it's a good one because it really does have relevance for folks all around the state. There are some statewide challenges emerging. Sempra has been involved in, I'm reading now from her statement, Sempra has been involved in creating and funding a couple of coalitions, one that's more locally focused down there, Clear the Air, and the other one that's really more statewide, equitable energy choice for Californians. And the question is, if the code of conduct doesn't apply, how can we fight or deal with this misinformation? Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah,
I mean, so that was one of our main concerns when the again, the proceeding at the PUC was occurring about setting up this marketing district. We said, how, you know, what do we do in the face of false or misleading statements to the public? Because we don't really have the capacity we can't compete with them toe to toe. They just, you know, obviously unlimited shareholder dollars we just don't have. So they have access to communicate with the public in a way we don't, an ability to. And we raised that very concern because obviously the PUC can regulate SDG&E, whether they are communicating truthfully to the public and giving accurate information. But this independent marketing district, there's literally no oversight, by the way. There's nobody monitoring their materials that they're sending to Barbara or any other, or the mayor or any other elected official. And they've taken advantage of that. They literally say anything and everything. That's why they say with a straight face, you know, the sky will fall if you move forward with community choice. Like all of our finances will collapse. You know, just this crisis statewide will happen. Our lights will go out. I mean, you know, they just say just these crazy scenarios that have no basis in reality. And all we can do is, you know, us tiny little community-based organizations, luckily have been in this space a long time, are trusted messengers, fortunately, so that enables us to be effective. But we just counter that as best we can. But yeah, it's always been a concern of ours, is that there's just no regulation over what they say. And so they're allowed to say anything. And I don't really know the solution to that, but I'm happy to talk to anybody at the state about how this is happening and, you know, how this does color, unfortunately, some of the public's perception about what community choice is because they don't have to tell the truth.
And I was at a forum run by a reputable organization in San Diego, which put on 2 forums about community choice. In the first one, they had no one from Climate Action Campaign represented on the panel, and I actually complained, you know, that you need to present all points of view if you're going to do a public forum like this. So the second time they did, and I was able to attend the second one, and I heard some of this misinformation. I think we have to fight it, you know, through the press, through all the grassroots organizing that Nicole is doing, and through social media, which is an inexpensive way of reaching a lot of people.
All right, thank you. So we are getting down to our last few minutes here. You know, one thought I had earlier when you were talking about, you know, how Nicole, I think it was you that mentioned that there's you know, challenges that community choice agencies aren't developing anything new. I was at a CCA summit recently, and one of the big solar developers, national solar developer, utility scale solar, said, you know, the market for solar development is in California, and in California the market the solar market is in community choice agencies, because they're the ones that are stepping up and buying solar. So that, yeah, and so that was pretty impressive. I took note of that, so you'll be seeing that quote coming out.
I was going to say,
go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, I need that, Woody. I need real-time data.
Yeah. So it's there. It's there. So there's that, and that's the utility scale, and certainly community choice really. We're seeing that they really are, you know, taking a lead in this transformation to a decentralized system, and you know that's happening with community choice or not. That's a global energy transformation that's underway. So this disruption that's happening isn't just disruption by community choice agencies. I think community choice agencies are just a pretty easy target because they're the ones that are actually getting out front and really have a mechanism, have a vehicle for advancing renewables and reducing greenhouse gases and providing better services to their customers. So, you know, they become an easier target. And, you know, alternative analyses like the city is currently supposedly underway doing have happened before, and you know, we've been looking at this since 2005 and haven't found anything superior to community choice, you know, a tool available to local government to reduce greenhouse gases. So that's my final comment. I would like to open it to the both of you to offer any final comments.
Well, the next step for the city of San Diego is the mayor has commissioned this business plan. He doesn't want it to, well, concurrently, the PUC will be deciding on the exit fees, which we're hoping is in July, that they don't keep putting this decision off, which they have done on other issues related to San Diego Gas and Electric. Hopefully by the fall, we have a business plan that's public, a public document that we can all review and improve, and that we're by the end of 2018, we're voting on how to set up and structure a community choice entity that works for our city.
Thank you. Nicole?
I just
last word?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody on the call, because I know so many of you have been the pioneers in this space and give us the opportunity to kind of follow in your footsteps. And again, like Barbara said, take advantage of best practices. We rely on you. We need you. You know, Sempra's not going to give up to literally the very end. So this battle is, you know, we're just in the middle of it, in the thick of it, and it is wearing and draining. So, you know, just want to, you know, again, say that everything you put out that promotes all the opportunities and benefits you're providing your community, it makes it easier for us to continue to march forward and fight the good fight. And so I really just want to thank everybody for you know, really giving us the opportunity down in San Diego to replicate and hopefully scale community choice energy as a really revolutionary solution to climate change. So thank you.
Great. Well, and thank you again both for joining us. Really appreciate your time today and all of your efforts down there on community choice, and we wish you the best of success with it.
Thank you.
I'm now going to pull back up the PowerPoint slide here, folks. I've got a couple of final, a couple of, should come up there, a couple of final slides just to remind people that our next webinar is on, let's see, there it is. Next webinar is on January 24th, noon to 1, and we will be talking about the lay of the land for the 2018 legislative session. And mark your calendars for the Business of Local Energy Symposium, June 5th, 2018 at the Sacramento Sheraton. And with that, if you've got any final follow-up questions or anything, please feel free to give me a call. That's my contact information, my email address. And with that, our webinar is concluded. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Barbara. All right, see you later, Woody.
Bye.